It's now exactly 242 days before Nigeria's crucial elections as millions of people gear up to vote in what could be a turning point in the nation's history. In 2015 elections, Nigeria had 40 registered political parties, and ahead of the 2019, there are now 68, with 33 more being considered for registration. Joining me in the studio on Africa today, I have Victor Okhai, media consultant and, of course, a presidential aspirant in the 2019 election. Good to have you here on the program.
Having me.
So right now we have an increased number of presidential aspirants for 2019 as against what we saw in 2015. What do you think could be responsible for this increase in numbers?
Well, there's been a call. I mean, it's one thing for people to say that there's a problem with the system,
Right.
but the best way to address it is to go in there and do something about it and not just talk about it. And I guess a lot of people who have had some sort of apathy towards the political system have realized that the only way they can effect change is to be in the ring and then be able to, I mean, it's to grab power, if you like, so that they can effect change. It's not just enough to stand as a critic or to be there as an activist. It doesn't make sense. You've got to go in there, and then if you feel something is wrong, the best person to fix it is you.
Right, you've been the first person to fix it, and knowing that you're a newcomer and you're centered on grabbing power, like you put it, what exactly are you bringing to the table? Because that's what most Nigerians want to know. We have lots of presidential aspirants on the queue. What are you bringing that is different?
Oh, quite a lot. First of all, if you look at the situation in Nigeria today, some of our biggest challenges are security, the challenges of corruption, and then we look at the economy and all of that. And as an individual, my background, where I come from, prepares me eminently for this. I grew up in northern Nigeria. I have a mother who is from the southeastern part of Nigeria. I'm from the midwestern part of Nigeria.
Right.
I live in the southwest right now. And I have friends I cut across. I went to a unity school where I went to school with, people from virtually every state of the Federation. And so I had friends, still have friends from across the divide. When I was growing up, we hardly knew where anyone came from. We're, first of all, Nigerians. And but all that has been, I want to watch my language on television, but I guess if I use the word bastardization, it's also in order. I don't think it's an extreme language. All that has been bastardized. It's no longer, what you see now is a polarization along ethnic and religious. We've been polarized along ethnic and religious divides, such that people who were hitherto very close, suddenly when politics is mixed into the fray, the next thing you hear is, okay, immediately somebody becomes Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, or a minority, and all that, or a Christian and a Muslim. It shouldn't be the case.
So what do you intend to do to correct that perception?
I'll come to all that. Okay, well, if you want, I can take them one after the other. The thing is, in order to be able to, I mean, my favorite example is Rwanda, which had similar problems, and they had a war that almost was going to destroy the entire country. There were the Hutus and the Tutsis. But today, under the leadership of Paul Kagame, and for me, that's what this country is lacking at the moment. They have been, both sides have been united first as Rwandese, no longer as Tutsis or Hutus anymore. We need that kind of healing in this country, and the only person who can do it is someone who has, how do I put it? Who has a leg in every? How do I put it? So, and I understand what the issues are. The melting pot of the whole problem in this country is in the Middle Belt, I grew up in that particular community, and so I understand. That's where, if you like, North meets South, where Muslim, Islam, and Christianity meet, wherever there are clashes, that's where they begin and end. I grew up in that particular community, and I understand environment, I understand what it takes. And so it requires somebody like me who has that understanding and that kind of background.
But is that enough? Because you are saying that the country has been divided along ethnic and religious lines. So how can you bring everyone together as a center to stand together as one indivisible group? First,
you have to ask yourself, how many of the politicians out there even realize that this is a problem? The first thing people talk about is restructuring, which is okay, and I'm also a proponent of restructuring. Or some talk about security, or others talk about the economy. But the truth is, without a solid foundation, everything else you build, get the best economic models, they will collapse. The reason Rwanda is one of the fastest growing, and I will not stop talking about it, because it's a model. The reason it's one of the fastest growing economies and the favorite destination for investors on the African continent today is because there is peace in that country. Kenya is following suit. The president and his opponent in the last election have realized that they are, first of all, Kenyans. If you don't do that, whatever else you do, I guarantee you, get the best of economists, it will all fall like a pack of cards.
Yeah, I like what you said, that Kenyans remember first that they are, first of all, Kenyans. And Nigerians should also remember that, first of all,
very important.
They are Nigerians.
Yes, but that's not the case
That is
today.
the question that I still want an answer to, because that is an issue. Most of us see ourselves as Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. And now you're saying that you
it's
intend
easy. I'll tell you this.
Yes,
I'll tell you this. Now, we need a leader who's able to bring everyone together.
How?
It's not difficult. First, I'll tell you this. We had a confab that was thrown away the last time. And I can tell you why probably some parts of the country are suspicious and all that, and why they don't want it and then others want it. The thing is, we have been running away from a dialogue that has to deal with the question of who we are. It's very, very important. It's important that we bring our imams, our, if you like, traditional worshippers or whatever it is, the Christian pastors and all of that, bring them together. Bring our chiefs, our emirs, and all our leaders, put them in a place. This time it's not the usual constitutional conference. Let us find out, where did all of this start? Because unless you can trace it from the root, unless we can talk to ourselves, unless we're able to tell ourselves some home truth in an environment where we have agreed that we must find solution before we leave, okay? Until we do that, we will be deceiving ourselves. And so there's a need to do that. We need a leader who is able to come, bring everyone together and say, gentlemen, do we want a country or do we not want a country?
All right,
are we happy with the way things are or not?
All right, let's hold your thought for now. We need to go on this very quick break. You're watching Africa Today, and I have been speaking with Victor Okhai, who wants to run for the presidential elections in 2019. With the new opposition parties springing up, Nigeria could, for the first time, see a strong third political party and even more emerge in 2019. Reports show that political groups are trying to harness the appetite for an alternative to the ruling All Progressives Congress and the main opposition People's Democratic Party. Now let's look at the democratic process in Nigeria today. What's your assessment of it all since its birth?
Well, the good thing that can be said is that this will be 19 years now.
Right.
We have had an unbroken democratic run. That's positive, however it is. And I expect that continues. We have to learn the ropes. We never had a chance. The First Republic was terminated, the Second Republic was terminated. We have another chance now, so that's positive. How far have we gone? It's still early days yet, and so we still find the same teething problems you might have with anything else that you might say. And so we have part of the problems we have here, the issue of, if you like, winner takes all. As soon as a party gets into power, every other person becomes, it's not just opposition party right now, but it's like your enemies. Now, that shouldn't be the case.
Right.
I expect that when you get into power, when anyone gets into power, look for your best and your brightest, wherever they are, at home and abroad. Bring them on board and let's build a united and prosperous Nigeria. Now, that is very important. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And then we also find a situation, as is happening even currently, where we're talking about dealing with corruption, and we're doing selective victimization. Now, that's not going to help the system. If we want to fight corruption, we've got to be able to face it frontally, squarely, and fairly. And we have to be seen to be fighting corruption, okay? And issues of security and the rest of them. What is lacking, what I find largely lacking in this country today is visionary leadership. And for me, leadership is not even about, I mean, technocrats you can get for two for a dime, or is it a dime a dozen rather? You can get, I mean, we have brains all over. We're not short of technocrats. What is missing is visionary leadership. And the kind of leadership I'm talking about is, you know, when you see a Mandela, for instance, yes, he was incarcerated for 27 years. And when he came out, what did he do? He was ready to forgive, even those that, you know, put him away. What he did was bring all South Africans together and acted as a father of all, and created an atmosphere where, you know, peace and prosperity, if you like, will reign. Now, that's what we need in this country. Somebody who is able to visualize. Permit me if I delve into the Bible occasionally when I talk. Moses, for instance, was able to visualize through the power of God a promised land, okay? And he painted a picture. The people keyed into the picture and they walked towards that picture of going into the promised land.
Now,
Martin Luther King.
Okay.
Martin Luther King also painted a picture. I'll just give you 3 quick examples. I may not delve because they are examples that are well known. He never saw that promised land, but he was able to build a picture that people were able to aspire to. The last example I'll give is John F. Kennedy. JFK was able, and I wish anyone who can should listen to that speech where he talked about landing a man on the moon. You know, he painted an image, even when they didn't have the resources, the wherewithal, didn't even know how such a thing was possible. He was able to paint a picture such that it was so vivid, the people could see it, and they aspired. He was able to inspire them to do the impossible, to believe in themselves, and they were able to achieve, you know, the goal of putting a man on the moon.
Now, you say this visionary leadership sounds good to the ear, but how do you intend to walk us through your plan? Because that is what Nigerians want to know. What are you doing differently from what we've seen over the years? From all that you've said now. Security, economy, health. There's so much more we've seemed to be lacking. What are you going to do in these areas?
Well, the first thing I tried to talk about earlier on is that process of healing. Because obviously, if that is not done, we will just be wasting our time, because you will just find as you're building, people are pulling down. You know, in the area of security, I am really concerned that we do not have a proper database of who Nigerians really are. If you go to Adamawa State, you will find people who, if you like, officially or unofficially have dual citizenship. They are Cameroonians by day, or they are Nigerians by day and Cameroonians by night. Okay? You go up north, you'll find people who are Nigerians by day and Nigerians by night. Okay? And so on and so forth, because of the porosity of our borders. And I'm worried that no one is holding immigrations accountable. Okay? That is something that we need to take very seriously. Let us begin to know who Nigerians are. Because if we don't know that, then we don't know who our enemies are. So there's a need to get a proper database to know who Nigerians really are. When we know who we are, then we can actually address ourselves. And even the issue of security, we can begin to address it. Because then our borders will be adequately policed. And then if people are contained within the borders, then it is then possible to be able to know who is who, and then if we go after the people who are causing problems for us, we talk about Boko Haram today. What kind of cooperation are we having with our neighbors, for instance? Because this is a problem. If you're not talking with your neighbors properly, people will strike you by the day, or if you like, by night, and then fly into the neighboring country by the day. There's also the need to address people who are aggrieved across the country. You have the issue of IPOB on the one hand. That is like a sitting duck or a waiting time bomb. The issue of the Niger Delta has still not been fully addressed. In the Northeast, a lot has also not been addressed. And so what you find is a situation like the proverbial ostrich burying his head in the sand. Now, there's a need to bring all of this and confront them frontally.
How?
If the thing is, bring the people. You see,
Right.
most governments are afraid of confrontation. They think that if you bring people together, the country will break. It's not going to break. We have started addressing the issue of June 12 right now, okay? And you see how happy the people of the Southwest are, okay? I do not see why, if you address the issue of, if you like, Biafra, we've talked about, we're talking about, there are people in the Southeast who still feel that they're not a part of Nigeria. There's a need to allay such fears and such suspicions. Bring them in and let them feel that they're a part of Nigeria. And all of this comes through dialogue, which is that first thing I talked about earlier. So there's a need, this is expansive because we have so much to talk about.
Right.
So that's why I'm just treating them peripherally.
Now let's go to economy. How do you intend to treat that part? For
the economy, I like to look at the economy. I like to look at things slightly differently. I like to look at the future. Is a seed you plant today that will germinate tomorrow. We have dwelt too much on the issue of oil. Any country's biggest resource is its human resource, the human capital. England, for instance, I don't know how much, apart from coal and what else do they have. Japan, I don't know what resources they have. Germany, I don't know what resources they have. Our young people are our strongest resource, okay? I know young people in this country today who have startups that people have invested millions of dollars in, as I speak to you in this country today. And so there's a need to encourage young people in this country. We're going to be setting tech hubs all over the country, okay, where we can get innovators and get young people who will, because technology is, after all, where the future is. With technology, you can have better agriculture. And I'm talking about ICT. There are people who are driving agriculture through technology. There are people who are driving commerce through technology. There are all aspects. Okay, so this is an integral part, right from the primary school. I thank God for what Lagos State is doing right now, but this needs to go national. The issue of teaching children coding, that's a new language. It's no longer ABC. Okay, and so if you start from a young age and begin to teach people coding, for instance, and then set up tech hubs that you're going to back up with electricity adequately, of course, and make sure that they have adequate internet facilities, you will find a situation where you have a smart economy, and when you have a smart economy, it drives everything else. Your growth is going to be faster than anything else. Now, again, like I said, these are things that you can't explain away in a minute or two. But if we put all our resources in our young people through education, through empowerment, then obviously I can assure you that we have a better tomorrow.
And also in the area of health?
Oh, health. I'll give you very quickly, today there's medical tourism all over. What is wrong, for instance, with taking duty away from diagnostic equipment? Equipment for, like MRI, for instance, things used to diagnose cancer and all of these things, and for treatment and all that. Take away the duty. How much income comes in from it? So these things are coming to this country, and all the reagents and things that these labs need, bring them, remove duty from them. Because the truth is, how much money are we really making from these things? Okay? You bring them into this country, you can get early diagnosis for diseases. Because, like I keep repeating, the human resource is your best, that's your strongest point. And so when you do that, the treatment, the cost of diagnosis for cancer becomes very cheap. Treatment becomes very cheap, for instance, and for drugs. as much as possible raw materials so that local production of drugs, is because our local pharmaceutical companies make very good drugs. For me, I trust the products from this country better than a lot of ones that are imported because they're regulated. We have a NAFDAC, for instance, and so you can be sure of the source of what you're getting. If you remove or minimize the duties on medical equipment, medical raw materials and all of that, it will bring down the cost of treatment.
What about medical tourism, which seems to be the problem as well?
Medical tourism, this is what I'm saying. If you do this, it will take care of medical tourism. The reason is that when these things are cheaply and readily available, okay, what are you going out for? Who wants to spend millions? It's because people don't have faith in the system. We must support our system here. We must support our doctors. Doctors go out because they don't have facilities to work with here. If the facilities are on ground here, if you have the best of medical equipment here, why would you want to go outside? What would take you to Saudi Arabia or anywhere else? Because you can make money here. People will be, the treatments will be done. People will come from Togo, Benin, Ghana, and the rest. So we will, instead of the tourism going outwards, it will now be tourists coming into this country to be treated.
All right, and I wish you all the best in your quest to be the president of Nigeria. Thank you very much, Victor Okhai. Unfortunately, we would have continued
I really wish we had more time.
The time is not our friend, as usual.
I know that.
Victor Okhai, media consultant and a presidential aspirant for 2019. It's a pleasure to have your thoughts on the program.
Thank you.
Elections often come and go, and in most parts of Africa, it is back to status quo for citizens, with leaders who seem to have an expertise in failing on promises and falling short on expectations. Ahead of Nigeria's 2019 general elections, the people must take action and create a moment where voting day isn't just another political event, but an avenue for the dividends of democracy to find expression. And that is our package for today. But don't forget to join the conversation on Twitter at TVC News NG, and also follow me for updates around Africa at Esther TVC News. On to the next one, I am Esther Omokwariola, and always remember, Africa can only get better.